heard of the legends of Toa Lhikan. Now it's time to meet his team. His full team. Lhikan had 10 other Toa that he worked with during his time. 1 Toa of air, 1 Toa of stone, 1 Toa of earth, 1 Toa of plant life, 2 Toa of water, and 4 Toa of ice. These 11 heroes were called together to protect the city of Metru Nui from the awakened Kanohi Dragon. Who knows if they'll succeed? Will the Kanohi Dragon be too much for them? Will they prevail?
Naho was the second Toa of water on Lhikan's team. She was a resilient Toa who demonstrated great perseverance and loyalty to her team. Like many other Gamma Toa, Naho demonstrated great patience and approached every situation with a calm and collected attitude. She also knew when to be firm, though, and at times would assist Lhikan in pulling the team together when they started to drift apart. Naho bore the Akaku mask, which allowed her to see through objects. She also carried twin water pikes for close combat.
Representing the element of stone on the team was Sakura. As a Matoran, his occupation was an inventor. He was a no-nonsense being who specialized in efficiency. He could be a very collaborative worker, but only when his colleagues provided cold hard facts and weren't getting emotional about their decision-making. Sakura bore the Kanohi Elda, the Mask of Detection. To further enhance his mask's capabilities, he tinkered with it and added a telescopic lens for his right eye. Sakura carried a short sword for melee fighting, as well as a multi-purpose laser handgun for long-range attacks.
Hotaka was one of 4 Toa of ice on Lhikan's team. As a Matoran, he was one of the crafters of his village. He wasn't too great at his profession and was rejected by the other villagers. He was reclusive and developed a reputation for his icy glares and cold shoulders, not unlike the other residents. It wasn't until he became a Toa that he found his true purpose. Hotaka wore the Mask of Conjuring, a rather dangerous Kanohi. This mask gave him the ability to program unlimited power into his Kanohi for a short time. The user must describe the power in detail and explain at least one weakness. If the phrasing is spoken incorrectly, it can cause severe psychic damage to the user. Being a cold-natured and careful talker to begin with, this hadn't been an issue for Hotaka. In addition to his mask, he also carried with him a spiked ice blade and throwing daggers.
Ikaro was another Toa of ice on the team. He wasn't much of a fighter as a Komatoran, as his occupation was a chemist. After transforming into a Toa, however, he has since learned an ample amount of combat from Ariki, another Toa of ice. Like other beings of ice, Ikaro had a tendency towards seclusion. In spite of this, he had an agreeable personality and would be more than happy to go with what the team decided on. Whenever the team would be in disagreement, though, he would seclude himself, as he didn't like conflicts. He continued to grow and gain confidence thanks to the help of Ariki and Neho. Ikaro wore the Cow, which granted him the ability to breathe underwater and in some other liquids for a limited time. His weapons of choice were his Icicle Spear and Snowflake Shield.
Jaiko was yet another ice member of the Toa Mangai. Back on his home island, Jaiko was one of a number of scholars. Having learned much during his occupation, Jaiko frequently got asked questions about a myriad of topics and his thoughts on them. He could have a bit of a short temper sometimes when he got passionate about a conversation, especially when he was right, which to him was just about all the time. Jaiko used the Mask of Truth, which allowed him to see through illusions and other deceptions. It also allowed him to see any invisible beings. Jaiko's weapon was a pickaxe, which he used to focus his elemental ice blasts at his enemies.
As you're on your way back home, something catch your eyes untold.
Ariki was the 4th Toa of ice on the team. He has always been a very spry and active being, flipping around and practicing other sorts of acrobatics. Although not as cold-natured and hard like Hotaka and Jaiko, Ariki does share that Komatoran tendency of secluding himself to recharge himself mentally. He surprised many when he took a liking to Ikaro and took him under his wing to help him with his combat training. generally he kept his strategies and combat training to himself. Much to his excitement, Ariki was granted the Calyx, which allowed him to pull off seemingly impossible maneuvers at his top physical peak. He also carried twin icicle swords that were specially made for him by a crafter he knew on his homeland.
Rongo was the Earth Toa of the Toa Mangai. His occupation as a Matoran was a miner and thus had gotten very comfortable using large tools and equipment. Rongo was a hard worker as a Matoran and a steadfast friend and warrior as a Toa. He was a calm being and had few close friends in his circle. Shortly after he became a Toa, he got right to work assisting his village in whatever way he could with his newfound abilities. One such instance, he saved a group of miners from a cave-in. Rongo's Kanohi Kakama allowed him to move at amazing speeds. His tools consisted of a hardened protodermis launcher, which also doubled as a shield. He also carried a focus drill with a spiked back for short-range combat.
And finally, the plant life Toa on the team was Hahona. He was a calm and gentle being who was always looking out for those around him. He was a very empathetic Toa who had extensive knowledge of medicines, as his occupation as a Matoran was a healer. Ever since his calling to Metru Nui, he had felt very much out of his element, as the whole city is relatively devoid of forests and jungles. He spent most of his downtime in Ga-Metru as a result, since it was the next closest thing to nature. Since obtaining his Mask of Healing, his abilities as a healer had increased tenfold. His tool was a battle rake with an added water blade at the other end of the hill. Coming together for a common purpose, these Toa will need to get used to and learn to work with one another. Though they may have some individual experiences Toa, they'll need to learn true unity if they are to neutralize the dragon threat. We shall learn more of these events in due time. Thanks for watching this slideshow video of the full Toa Mangai team. Thanks to Biosector 01, I was able to draw a general idea as to what the personalities of these Toa would have been. With the exception of Naho, the names of these Toa were thought up by myself and Ruby. The Toa designs and weapons were made by yours truly. The biographies for these Toa were written by me and edited by Ruby. If you'd like to see the full biographies in written form, check out my Flickr page in the description. If you're interested in seeing and hearing about Lhikan, Nidhiki, and Tuyet, check out this video on the right to go straight to them. The other voice assisting me with the narrations was Blazer5Ronin, another YouTuber with amazing animation work. I'll link to him in the description as well. And finally, remember to show your appreciation by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Until next time, this is Makuta Alvarez, signing out.